The UES Nightborne floated in the darkness of space like a shark waiting for its prey. Its black hull swallowed the light from distant stars. Captain Jinha stood on the bridge with his hands behind his back, watching the screen that showed enemy ships. The aliens called Vraxians had destroyed 3 human colonies in just 3 weeks. "Tell me our status," Jinha said. Breaking the tense quiet of the bridge, Lieutenant Harin moved her fingers quickly across her control panel. "Weapons are ready. Stealth systems working perfectly. The enemy ships don't know we're here." Jinha gave a small nod. Humans had been pushed to the edge since the Vraxians came from deep space. They didn't warn humans or make any demands, they just attacked and killed. The Nightborne was humanity's last hope. A new type of warship with secret technology that Earth's leaders had kept hidden until now. "They think we are weak," Jinha said softly. "They think humans are just animals to be hunted." Commander Kana walked up to Jinha, his face serious. "The colony on Proxima Centauri has gone silent, sir. We think 30,000 people are dead." Jinha's jaw tightened. "Then it's time to show them what happens when you corner a species that fought its way to the top of a deadly planet." He pressed a button to speak to the whole ship. "Everyone to battle stations. Today we show the galaxy why humans survived. Every disaster our planet threw at us." The Nightborne's engines lit up, pushing the ship toward the alien fleet that had no idea what was coming. "How many ships do they have?" Jinha asked. 15 warships, sir," Quan answered. "All bigger than anything we've built before." Jinha wasn't worried about size. "The biggest predator isn't always the most dangerous one. It's the one that adapts fastest." Harin looked up from her screen. "Sir, I'm picking up signals between their ships. They seem to be connected somehow." "Connected?" Jinha moved closer to her station. "Yes, sir. It's like they're sharing thoughts, not just communicating thinking as one." Jinha found this interesting. A hive mind. That explains their perfect formations. Rex, the chief engineer, spoke through the ship's comm system. "Captain, the new weapons are charged and ready. But we've never tested them in real combat." "The Vraxians have given us no choice," Jinha replied. "We test them now or we die later." The bridge crew worked in focused silence as the Nightborne moved closer to the alien fleet. These men and women were the best Earth had to offer survivors, and fighters who refused to let humanity become just another extinct species. "Weapon range in 60 seconds, Harin announced. Jinha turned to his tactical officer. "Jack, are the targeting systems locked on their lead ship?" Morrison nodded. "Yes, sir." "Ready on your command." "Good." Jinha looked at the main screen, watching the alien ships move in their perfect mechanical pattern. "They think they know war. They think they understand violence." His voice grew quiet. "But they've never faced humans before." The Nightborne stealth systems kept it hidden as it approached the Vraxian fleet. The aliens continued their patrol, unaware that death was coming. 30 seconds to firing range, Harin said. Jinha addressed his crew. "Remember why we're here. Remember the colonies they destroyed. Remember Earth is counting on us." The crew nodded, determination on their faces. 10 seconds, Harin counted down. Jinha took a deep breath. "Disable stealth. Systems, bring all weapons online." The Nightborne suddenly appeared on the Vraxian sensors, its weapons glowing with energy. "Fire," Jinha ordered. Beams of blue-white energy shot from the Nightborne, hitting the lead Vraxian ship. The alien vessel's shields flashed and failed. As the experimental weapons built using technology humans had taken from a crashed Vraxian scout ship cut through their defenses. "Direct hit," Quan shouted. "Their shields are down." The bridge crew watched as the Vraxian ship broke apart, air and bodies spilling into space. There were no distress calls. No begging for mercy, just silence. "They're turning to attack," Harin warned, all ships changing course toward us. Jinha smiled slightly. "Good, Rex, start the quantum drive." The Nightborne disappeared and reappeared behind the Vraxian formation. 2 more enemy ships were hit before they could react, their hulls torn open by weapons they never expected humans to have. "They're trying to surround us," Quan said, watching the tactical display. They're learning our attack pattern. Jinha nodded. As expected. But they don't understand what they're fighting. Morrison released the Nova Mines. Morrison pressed several buttons. Nova Mines away, sir. Small devices, no bigger than a fist, drifted toward the Vraxian fleet. The aliens couldn't detect them. When the mines exploded, they tore holes in space itself, destroying 3 more enemy ships instantly. Half the Vraxian fleet was gone, and they still didn't understand what they were facing. Sir, the remaining ships are changing formation, Harin reported. They're spreading out. Jinha watched the aliens adapt. They learn quickly, but not quickly enough. The Nightborne shook as Vraxian weapons hit its shields. Shields at 80%, Harin called out. They're focusing their fire. Jinha remained calm. Change shield frequencies, pattern Alpha 6. The Vraxian ships continued their attack, but now their weapons were less effective against the Nightborne's shifting shields. Sir, Morrison said, I'm detecting a strange signal from their ships. They're calling for help. Jinha's expression hardened. Then we need to finish this before help arrives. Target their largest remaining ship, all weapons. The Nightborne's weapons fired again, focusing on what appeared to be the Vraxian command ship. The alien vessel tried to evade, but the human ship was too fast. Too unpredictable, the command ship exploded in a ball of blue fire. The remaining Vraxian vessels suddenly seemed confused, their perfect formation breaking apart. Sir, they're disorganized, Quan said, surprise in his voice. It's like they don't know what to do without the command ship. Jinha watched as the alien ships began to move erratically. Their hive mind is disrupted. They can't think as one anymore. He turned to Harin. Target the remaining ships. Number. Survivors. The Nightborne moved through the Vraxian fleet like a predator among wounded prey. One by one, the alien ships fell silent. When it was over, Jinha stood looking at the debris field that had once been a mighty alien fleet. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them the UES Nightborne has entered the war. Tell them we've found the enemy's weakness. As the message was sent, Jinha knew this was just the beginning. The Vraxians would return with more ships, but now humanity had hope. Now they had a way to fight back, and in the cold silence of space, the Nightborne prepared for the battles to come. 3 days after their first victory, the UES Nightborne hid in the shadow of a large asteroid. Captain Jinha had ordered the ship to wait here after receiving reports of a new Vraxian fleet heading toward the human colony on Tau Ceti. How much longer? Jinha asked, his eyes fixed on the main screen. Harin checked her instruments. Enemy fleet should arrive in this sector in about 20 minutes, sir. Jinha nodded. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers. Everyone knew what was at stake. If they failed, another human colony would be destroyed. Status report, Jinha ordered. Commander Quan stepped forward. All systems ready, Captain. Weapons at full power, stealth systems working perfectly. The quantum drive is charged for 3 jumps. And the special package? Jinha asked. Engineer Rex reports it's ready, Quan replied. Though he still says it's never been tested in combat. Jinha smiled slightly. The Vraxians continue to give us opportunities to test our new weapons. The special package was a device the scientists on Earth called a neural disruptor. After studying the wreckage from their first battle, humans had learned more about how the Vraxian hive mind worked. The neural disruptor was designed to break the mental connection between Vraxian ships. Sir, Harin called out suddenly. I'm detecting quantum disturbances. The Vraxian fleet is arriving early. Jinha straightened. How many ships? 25, sir. Much more than we expected. The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Their last battle had been against 15 ships, and that was difficult enough. They've learned from their defeat, Jinha said calmly. They're being more careful this time. He turned to Tactical Officer Morrison. Jack, are the Nova mines ready? Yes, sir. We have 8 left. Jinha considered their options. 25 ships was too many for a direct attack. They needed a different approach. New plan, he announced. We won't attack them head-on. We'll use their own formation against them. He moved to the tactical display. Haran, show me their approach vector. The screen displayed the path of the Vraxian fleet, a tight, arrow-shaped formation moving steadily toward Tau Ceti. They're still using their standard formation, Jinha observed. They haven't learned everything from our last encounter. He pointed to a spot on the display. We'll position ourselves here and deploy the Nova mines in this pattern. When they pass through, we'll detonate them and attack from behind. The crew quickly adjusted their plans. The Nightborne moved silently to its new position, using the asteroid field for cover. Vraxian fleet will reach the minefield in 3 minutes, Haran reported. Jinha watched the alien ships on the screen. They moved as one, like a single organism. With many parts, it was both impressive and disturbing. 2 minutes, Haran continued the countdown. Jinha pressed the ship-wide come button. All hands, prepare for combat. This will be a harder fight than our last one. The enemy has more ships, and they know we're in this sector. But they still don't understand what makes humans different. They don't understand that we grow stronger when challenged. 1 minute, Haran said. Jinha nodded to Morrison. Prepare to detonate the mines on my mark. The Vraxian fleet moved closer to the hidden trap, their sensors sweeping the area but failing to detect the tiny Nova mines or the Nightborne hiding behind the asteroid. They're entering the minefield now, Haran reported. Jinha waited until the maximum number of enemy ships were in range. Detonate. The Nova mines exploded, creating tears in space-time that ripped through 7 Vraxian ships. The remaining alien vessels scattered in confusion. Now! Jinha ordered. Full power to engines. Attack pattern Delta. The Nightborne shot out from behind the asteroid, weapons firing at the disorganized Vraxian ships. 3 more enemy vessels exploded before they could respond. They're regrouping, Quan warned, forming a defensive circle. The remaining 15 Vraxian ships arranged themselves in a ring, facing outward with weapons ready. They're adapting faster this time, Jinha noted. Morrison, prepare the neural disruptor. Ready, sir, Morrison replied. Fire! A pulse of energy shot from the Nightborne, invisible to normal sensors. It hit the center of the Vraxian formation and expanded outward. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then chaos erupted. The Vraxian ships began firing at each other. Some drifted aimlessly. Others spun in circles. It worked, Haran exclaimed. Their hive mind is completely disrupted. Jinha allowed himself a small smile. Now we finish this. Target the largest remaining ships first. The Nightborne moved through the confused Vraxian fleet, destroying ship after ship. Without their mental connection, the aliens couldn't coordinate their defenses, but the victory wasn't easy. 3 Vraxian ships managed to overcome the disruption enough to focus their fire on the Nightborne. Shields at 40%, Haran called out as the ship shook from enemy fire. Evasive maneuvers, Jinha ordered. Rex, we need more power to the shields. Rex's voice came through the cum. I'm giving you everything I can, Captain. Any more and we risk overloading the system. The Nightborne twisted and turned, avoiding most of the enemy fire while returning shots of its own. 2 more Vraxian ships exploded, leaving just 1 still. Fighting. The last ship is charging some kind of energy weapon, Morrison warned, reading massive power buildup. Jinha made a quick decision. Quantum jump. Now! The Nightborne disappeared just as the Vraxian ship fired, reappearing behind the alien vessel. All weapons fire. Jinha commanded. The Nightborne's weapons tore through the last enemy ship, splitting it in half. The battle was over. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Jinha remained serious. Damage report, he ordered. Quan checked the ship's systems. Shields damaged but repairing. Minor hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. Repair teams are responding. 2 crew members injured, none killed. Jinha nodded. And the neural disruptor? Burned out, Morrison reported. Rex says it was only good for 1 use anyway. Jinha stood and looked at the debris field that had once been 25 Vraxian warships. Begin scanning the wreckage. I want to know everything we can learn about their technology and biology. As the crew carried out his orders, Jinha moved to a quiet corner of the bridge. He pulled out a small device and recorded a message. Admiral Park, this is Captain Jinha of the UES Nightborne. We've engaged and destroyed a Vraxian fleet of 25 ships near Tau Ceti. The neural disruptor was successful, confirming our theory about their hive mind weakness. But there's something else you should know. He paused, looking at the data Harin had just sent to his personal screen. We've detected unusual energy readings from the Vraxian homeworld. They're gathering a much larger fleet, possibly hundreds of ships. They're preparing for a major assault on Earth itself. The Nightborne alone won't be enough to stop them. Jinha ended the recording and sent it through a secure quantum channel to Earth Command. Then he returned to the center of the bridge. Set course for the Arcturus system, he ordered. We need to warn the research station there about what's coming. As the Nightborne moved away from the battlefield, Jinha knew that the real war was just beginning. The Vraxians would come back stronger, more adapted to human tactics, but humans would adapt too. That's what they did best. And in the silence of space, the race for survival continued. The Arcturus research station hung in space like a silver spider web, its many sections connected by long tubes. As the UES Nightborne approached, Captain Jinha could see scientists moving inside the transparent observation domes. Open a channel to the station, Jinha ordered. Harin pressed several buttons on her console. Channel open, sir. Arcturus Station, this is Captain Jinha of the UES Nightborne. We need to speak with Director Lee immediately. The screen flickered, and an older woman with short gray hair appeared. Captain Jinha, I've heard about your victories against the Vraxians. What brings you to Arcturus? Director Lee, we have information about a massive Vraxian fleet heading toward Earth. We need your help. The director's face grew serious. Dock at Bay 3, I'll meet you there. An hour later, Jinha, Quan, and Rex sat in a conference room with Director Lee and her top scientists. The captain had just finished explaining what they had learned about the Vraxian hive mind. So, the neural disruptor worked, Director Lee said, looking at the data on her tablet. Yes, but it burned out after one use, Rex explained. And we don't have time to build more. The Vraxian fleet will reach Earth in less than 2 weeks, Director Lee nodded slowly. Perhaps we don't need to build more disruptors. We might have something better. She turned to one of her scientists. Dr. Kim, tell them about Project Phoenix. A young scientist stood up. Project Phoenix is a new type of weapon we've been developing. It uses the same principles as the neural disruptor, but on a much larger scale. Instead of just breaking the connection between Vraxian ships, it could potentially overload their entire hive mind. Jinha leaned forward. How does it work? It sends out a special signal that the Vraxians can't block, Dr. Kim explained. This signal carries a data package that's too complex for their hive mind to process. It's like trying to download too many files at once. Their system crashes. And this weapon is ready? Quan asked. Director Lee shook her head. Not yet. We've built the device, but we haven't been able to create the right data package. We need more information about how the Vraxian mind works. Jinha turned to Rex. The wreckage we collected from the last battle, could that help? Rex thought for a moment. Maybe. We did recover some intact brain tissue from the Vraxian command ship. If we combine that with the communication data we intercepted, it's worth trying, Director Lee said. But even if we create the perfect data package, there's still one problem. The device needs to be close to the center of the Vraxian fleet to affect all their ships. The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. Someone would have to fly directly into the middle of hundreds of enemy ships to activate the weapon. The Nightborne will do it, Jinha said firmly. My ship is the only one with the stealth technology and speed to get close enough. Director Lee looked at him with concern. Captain, that would be a suicide mission. Jinha's face showed no fear. If we don't stop this fleet, Earth will fall. Humanity will be extinct. One ship is a small price to pay. Quan spoke up. Sir, Perhaps we could modify the quantum drive to allow for remote activation. We could set the ship on autopilot, jump it into the middle of their fleet, and activate the weapon from a safe distance. Rex shook his head. The quantum drive isn't that precise. We'd need someone at the controls to make final adjustments. I'll do it, Jenna said. I'll take a small team. The rest of the crew can transfer to the station. Before anyone could argue, an alarm sounded. A voice came over the station's speakers. Alert! Vraxian ships detected entering the system. Everyone rushed to the observation deck. Through the large windows, they could see 5 Vraxian warships approaching the station. How did they find? U.S.? Director Lee asked. Jinha's face darkened. They must have tracked our quantum signature from the last battle. We led them right to you. The station has some defenses, Director Lee said, but nothing that can stand against 5 warships. Jinha turned to Quan. Get back to the Nightborne. Prepare for immediate departure. What's the plan, sir? Quan asked. We're going to lead them away from the station, Jinha replied. Give Director Lee and her team time to finish Project Phoenix. Director. Lee grabbed Jinha's arm. Captain, you can't face 5 ships alone. Your vessel is still damaged from your last battle. Jinha smiled slightly. The Vraxians still haven't learned that it's not the size of the ship that matters. It's the determination of its crew. Back on the Nightborne, Jinha took his place on the bridge. Status report, he ordered. Shields at 60%, Harin reported. Weapon systems fully operational. Quantum drive at 80% charge. The Vraxian ships are changing course, Morrison announced. They're heading straight for us, Jinha nodded. Good, they're taking the bait. Set course for the asteroid. Belt at the edge of the system, full speed. The Nightborne shot away from the research station, the 5 Vraxian ships following close behind. They're gaining on us, Harin warned. Let them get closer, Jinha said calmly. Morrison, prepare. The last of our Nova mines. Ready, sir, Morrison replied. The Nightborne raced toward the asteroid belt, the enemy ships closing the distance. Now! Jinha ordered. Drop the mines and execute quantum jump. The Nightborne released its remaining Nova mines and disappeared. Just as the Vraxian ships entered the minefield, the resulting explosion destroyed 2 enemy vessels immediately. The human ship reappeared behind the remaining 3 Vraxian ships. All weapons fire. Jinha commanded. The Nightborne's weapons tore into the nearest enemy ship, breaking it apart. But the 2 remaining Vraxian vessels quickly turned and returned fire. The bridge shook violently as enemy weapons hit the Nightborne's shields. Shields at 30%. Harin shouted over the noise of alarms. Evasive maneuvers! Jinha ordered. Rex, we need more power to the weapons. The Nightborne twisted and turned, trying to avoid the enemy fire while landing hits of its own. One more Vraxian ship exploded, but the last one continued its relentless attack. Shields failing! Harin called out as another hit rocked the ship. Jinha made a quick decision. Set collision course with the enemy ship. The bridge crew looked at him in shock. Sir? Quan questioned. You heard me? Jinha said firmly. Full speed ahead. The Nightborne surged forward, heading straight for the Vraxian ship. The enemy vessel tried to move aside, but Jinha had anticipated this. Quantum. Jump, now. The Nightborne disappeared and reappeared directly above the Vraxian ship. All remaining power to weapons, Jinha ordered. Fire everything we have. The human ship unleashed all its weapons at once, pouring energy into the enemy vessel at point-blank range. The Vraxian ship's shields collapsed, and its hull began to break apart. Get us out of here before they explode, Jinha commanded. The Nightborne moved away just as the enemy ship detonated in a massive fireball. Silence fell over the bridge as the crew realized they had survived. The ship was badly damaged, but they were alive. Damage report, Jinha requested, his voice tired but steady. Multiple hull breaches, Quan reported. Shields offline. Quantum drive damaged but functional. Weapons at 20% capacity, Jinha nodded. Set course back to Arcturus Station. Let's hope Director Lee and her team have made progress with Project Phoenix. As the damaged Nightborne limped back to the station, Jinha knew that their hardest battle was still to come. But they had bought precious time that might just save Earth and all of humanity, and in the silence of space, the wreckage of 5 more Vraxian ships drifted as testament to human determination. The UES Nightborne floated in a repair dock at Arcturus Station. Workers in spacesuits moved around the ship's damaged hull, fixing the holes and burns from the recent battle. Inside the station, Captain Jinha sat in the medical bay as a doctor treated a cut on his forehead. "You're lucky, Captain," the doctor said. "A few centimeters deeper and you might not be here." Jinha barely nodded. His mind was elsewhere, thinking about the massive Vraxian fleet heading toward Earth. The cut on his head seemed small compared to that threat. "Captain Jinha to the main laboratory," a voice announced over the station's speakers. Captain Jinha to the main laboratory. Jinha stood up. "Are we done here, Doctor?" "Yes, but take it easy. You have a mild concussion." Jinha ignored the advice and walked quickly to the laboratory. When he arrived, he found Director Lee, Dr. Kim, and Commander Quan standing around a table. On the table was a strange object, a silvery sphere about the size of a human head. "What is that?" Jinha asked. Director Lee looked up. "This is a Vraxian brain core. We found it in the wreckage your crew collected." Jinha moved closer to examine the sphere. "I thought Vraxians had normal brains like other species." "That's what we thought too," Dr. Kim said. "But they don't. This core is like a computer that connects to their hive mind. Each Vraxian has one." Quan pointed to several small holes in the sphere. These connect to their nervous system. The core receives and sends signals to the main hive consciousness. Jinha frowned. "So they're not born connected to the hive mind? They need this technology to connect?" "Exactly," Director Lee said. "And that's not all we discovered." She pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed the inside of the brain core complex circuits and strange crystals. "This technology isn't Vraxian," she continued. "It's much older. We think the Vraxians found it, just like they found the technology for their ships and weapons." Jinha looked confused. "Are you saying the Vraxians stole all their technology?" "Not stole," Dr. Kim corrected. "Inherited. We think they found the remains of a much older civilization and learned to use their technology. But they didn't understand it completely." Director Lee nodded. "And that's our advantage. We've been studying how this brain core works, and we've made a breakthrough for Project Phoenix." She led Jinha to another table where a device sat, a black box with antennas sticking out from it. "This is the Phoenix device," she explained. "We've programmed it with a signal that will overload the Vraxian brain cores. When activated, it will send out a pulse that disrupts their connection to the hive mind. But unlike the neural disruptor, this won't just confuse them, it will completely shut down their cores." Jinha understood immediately. "It will kill them?" Director Lee shook her head. "No, they'll survive, but they'll be individuals for the first time. They won't be able to function as a hive anymore." Jinha thought about this. "So instead of destroying their fleet, we'll be freeing them?" "In a way, yes," Dr. Kim said. "But there's a problem. The device needs to be within 10,000 kilometers of their fleet to work, and it needs to be activated manually." Jinha nodded slowly. "So we still need to fly the Nightborne into the middle of their fleet." "I'm afraid so," Director Lee confirmed. "And there's one more thing. We've detected a change in the Vraxian fleet's course. They're not heading directly to Earth anymore. They're coming here to Arcturus." Jinha's eyes widened. "How long do we have?" 3 days at most," Quan answered. "And our ship won't be fully repaired by then." Jinha thought for a moment. "It doesn't need to be fully repaired. We just need enough systems working to get close to their fleet and activate the Phoenix device." "Captain," Quan said carefully, "you know this is a one-way mission. Even with the quantum drive, there won't be time to escape after activating the device." Jinha looked at his officer. "I know, that's why I'll go alone. The rest of the crew will stay here." No, sir, Quan said firmly. You'll need a pilot and an engineer at minimum. I volunteer to go with you. Before Jinha could argue, the door opened and Harin walked in. I volunteer too, Captain. You'll need someone to operate the sensors to find the best position for the device. Jinha looked at his loyal officers, feeling both proud and sad. Thank you, but I can't ask you to— You're not asking, sir, Quan interrupted. We're telling you. This is our fight too. Jinha knew there was no point arguing. Very well. The three of us will take the Nightborne, but everyone else stays behind. Just then, Engineer Rex entered the laboratory. Captain, I heard about the mission. I'm coming too. No one knows the ship's systems better than I do. Jinha looked at his senior officers, Quan, Harin, and Rexall, willing to sacrifice themselves to save humanity. He felt a lump in his throat but kept his voice steady. Then it's settled. The four of us will take the Nightborne to meet the Vrexian fleet. Director Lee, how soon can the Phoenix device be ready? It's ready now, she replied. We just need to install it on your ship. Jinha nodded. Good, let's get to work. For the next 2 days, the crew of the Nightborne worked non-stop to prepare the ship. They focused on repairing the most critical systems engines, stealth technology, and the quantum drive. The Phoenix device was installed in the ship's core. Connected to the main power system, on the morning of the third day, Jinha stood in the station's observation lounge, looking out at his ship. The Nightborne's hull still showed signs of damage, with some sections covered by temporary patches. But it would fly one last time. Director Lee joined him at the window. The Vrexian fleet will arrive in 6 hours. Our long-range sensors show over 300 ships. Jinha nodded. We'll be ready. Captain, Director Lee said softly, I want you to know that what you and your crew are doing, it's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Jinha turned to her. We're not brave, Director. We're just doing what humans have always done, fighting to survive, no matter the odds. Director Lee handed him a small data chip. This contains all our research on the Vraxians. If something goes wrong with the Phoenix device, this information might help Earth find another way to fight. Jinha took the chip and put it in his pocket. Thank you. But the Phoenix will work. It has to. Later, as Jinha walked through the Nightborne for what would likely be the last time, he stopped at the memorial wall. Here, the names of crew members who had died in previous battles were displayed. Soon his name might join them. He placed his hand on the wall. We won't let you down, he whispered. Then he continued to the bridge, where Khan, Harin, and Rex waited for his orders. Outside the viewports, the stars seemed especially bright, as if watching to see what these humans would do in the face of almost certain death. Jinha took his captain's chair. Prepare for departure. We have a date with the Vraxian fleet. As the Nightborne pulled away from Arcturus Station, Jinha felt strangely calm. Whatever happened next, humanity would not go quietly into extinction. They would fight until the end, and in the silence of space, the damaged warship moved toward its final battle. The UES Nightborne moved slowly through the asteroid field at the edge of the Arcturus system. Captain Jinha had ordered the ship to hide here while they waited for the Vraxian fleet to arrive. The damaged warship's engines were running at minimum power to avoid detection. On the bridge, Jinha studied the tactical display. The screen showed hundreds of red dots approaching the Vraxian fleet, now just 2 hours away. Status report, Jinha ordered. Commander Quan checked his console. Stealth systems are working at 70% capacity. Quantum drive is operational, but can only make one jump before needing to recharge. Weapon systems are at 40%. Nodded. The ship wasn't in good shape, but they didn't need weapons for this mission. They just needed to get close enough to activate the Phoenix device. How's our special package? Jinha asked. Engineer Rex's voice came through the COM system. The Phoenix device is connected to our main power core, Captain. When activated, it will use all the ship's energy to send out the pulse. But there's a problem. Jinha frowned. What kind of problem? The power surge will overload our systems. We'll lose engines, life support, everything. Even if we survive the Vraxians, we'll be dead in space. Jinha had expected this. How long will life support last after activation? Rex was quiet for a moment. About 30 minutes, sir, maybe less. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. 30 minutes of air after completing their mission. Not enough time for rescue, even if there was anyone who could reach them. Thank you, Rex, Jinha said calmly. Continue monitoring. The device, Aharon looked up from her sensor station. Captain, I'm detecting unusual activity from the Vraxian fleet. They're sending out small scout ships in all directions. Jinha moved to her station. They're looking for us. They know we're here somewhere. Should we move deeper into the asteroid field? Quan suggested. Jinha shook his head. No, we stay. Here, if we move, we risk being detected. He turned to address the small crew. Everyone, listen carefully. Our mission is simple but vital. We need to get close to the center of the Vraxian fleet and activate the Phoenix device. If we succeed, we'll save Earth and possibly all of humanity. He paused, looking at each of his officers. I want to thank you all for volunteering for this mission. Your courage honors the best traditions of human service. Harin smiled slightly. We wouldn't be anywhere else, Captain. Jinha nodded, grateful for their loyalty. Now, let's review the plan one more time. He moved to the tactical display. When the Vraxian fleet enters the system, they'll head straight for Arcturus Station. We'll wait until they pass our position, then use the quantum drive to jump into the middle of their formation. Once there, we'll activate the Phoenix device immediately. Quan pointed to the display. The pulse should affect all ships within this radius. That's about 80% of their fleet. What about the other 20%? Harin asked. Without connection to the main hive mind, they'll be confused and disorganized, Jinha explained. The station's defenses should be able to handle them. Rex's voice came through the come again. Captain, I've been thinking, if I reroute power from the life support backup systems to the Phoenix device, I might be able to increase its range by another 15%. That would cover almost their entire fleet. Jinha considered this, but that would reduce our survival time after activation. Yes, sir, Rex admitted. Down to about 15 minutes. Jinha thought for a moment. 15 minutes instead of 30. Either way, they weren't likely to survive. But if they could take out more of the enemy fleet, do it, he ordered. Make the modifications. As Rex worked on the Phoenix device, Jinha went to his private quarters. He sat at his desk and recorded what would likely be his final log entry. Captain's log, UES Nightborne. We are about to engage the main Vraxian fleet. If our mission succeeds, Earth will be saved, but this ship and its crew will not return. I want the record to show that Commander Quan, Lieutenant Harin, and Engineer Rex volunteered for this mission knowing it was one way. Their courage represents the best of humanity. He paused, thinking about what else to say. I've been asking myself why the Vraxians attacked us without warning or communication. Now I think I understand. They can't comprehend our individuality. To them, a species that thinks as separate minds instead of one collective consciousness is chaotic, unpredictable, dangerous. They fear what they don't understand, just as humans often do. Jinha looked at a photo on his desk, his family back on Earth. Perhaps if we had met differently, we might have found a way to coexist, but now we fight for our survival. And if there's one thing humans have always excelled at, it's surviving against impossible odds. He ended the recording and sent it to Arcturus Station for transmission to Earth. Then he returned to the bridge. Captain, Harin called out as soon as he entered. The Vraxian fleet has entered the system. They'll pass our position in 20 minutes. Jinha took his seat. Prepare the quantum drive. We'll jump as soon as they pass us. The minutes ticked by slowly on the main screen. They watched as the massive Vraxian fleet moved toward Arcturus Station, hundreds of ships in perfect formation, like a single organism with many parts. 5 minutes until they pass our position, Harin reported. Jinha. Open the ship-wide comm. All hands, secure for quantum jump. Rex, status of the Phoenix device? Modifications complete, Captain, Rex replied. The device is ready. I'm heading to the bridge now. Soon, Rex joined them. his uniform stained with sweat and grease from working in the ship's core. 2 minutes, Harin announced. Jinha looked at his small crew, just 4 people against an alien armada. Whatever happens next, I want you all to know it's been an honor serving with you. They nodded, their faces showing determination rather than fear. 1 minute, Harin said. Jinha took a deep breath. Quantum drive ready? Quan nodded. Coordinates locked on the center of their formation. 30 seconds. Jinha gripped the arms of his chair. On my mark. The Vraxian fleet filled the main screen now, hundreds of ships moving in perfect unison. They were passing the asteroid field, unaware of the human ship hiding there. Now, Jinha ordered. Execute quantum jump. The stars blurred as the Nightborne disappeared from the asteroid field and reappeared in the heart of the Vraxian fleet. Suddenly, they were surrounded by enemy ships on all sides. Alarms blared as the Vraxians detected them. Enemy weapons began to target the human ship. Phoenix device ready to activate. Rex shouted over the noise. Jinha looked at the alien ships surrounding them. In seconds, they would open fire and destroy the Nightborne. Activate the device, Jinha ordered. Now, Rex pressed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights on the bridge dimmed as power was diverted to the Phoenix. DEVI, a pulse of invisible energy shot out from the Nightborne, expanding in all directions. It passed through the Vraxian ships like a ghost dot at first. It seemed like nothing had happened. Then, one by one, the enemy ships began to drift out of formation. Some collided with each other, others fired weapons randomly into space. It's working, Harin exclaimed. Their hive mind connection is breaking down. Jinha watched as the perfect Vraxian formation dissolved into chaos. Hundreds of ships, suddenly filled with individuals who had never made decisions on their own, who had never acted independently. Damage report, Jinha requested. Quan checked the systems. All major systems offline except minimal life support. We have about 15 minutes of air left. Jinha nodded. Send a message to Arcturus Station. Tell them the Phoenix device worked. The Vraxian threat is neutralized. As the message was sent, Jinha looked at the drifting enemy ships. They weren't firing anymore. They were just lost in the silence of space. Humanity had won its greatest victory. And though the crew of the Nightborne would not live to see Earth again, they had saved their species from extinction. Jinha looked at his brave officers. Now we wait. But fate, it seemed, had other plans for the crew of the Nightborne. The bridge of the UES Nightborne was dark except for the emergency lights that cast a red glow over the crew. The air was getting thinner as life support systems failed. Captain Jinha checked his watch. They had been drifting for 12 minutes since activating the Phoenix device. Only 3 minutes of breathable air remained. Around them, the Vraxian fleet floated in disarray. Hundreds of ships moved randomly, some spinning slowly, others drifting into each other. The Phoenix device had worked perfectly, breaking the connection between the alien vessels and their hive mind. Captain, Harin said weakly, her voice showing the effects of the thinning air. I'm detecting movement from one of the Vraxian ships. It's approaching us. Jinha moved to her station, conserving his energy with slow movements. On the screen, he saw a large Vraxian vessel moving deliberately toward the Nightborne. That's impossible, Quan said. The Phoenix device should have disabled their ability to coordinate. Jinha studied the approaching ship. It's not moving like the others. This is purposeful. Rex joined them, his face pale from lack of oxygen. Could some of them be immune to the Phoenix pulse? Or maybe, Jinha said slowly, some of them have adapted already. The Vraxian ship came alongside the Nightborne, close enough that they could see details of its strange design through the viewports. It was massive, at least 5 times the size of their vessel. They're scanning us, Harin reported. Jinha straightened his uniform. If they're going to destroy us, at least we completed our mission. But the Vraxian ship didn't fire its weapons. Instead, it extended a docking tube toward the Nightborne. They want to board us? Quan asked in disbelief. Jinha was equally surprised. In all previous encounters, the Vraxians had shown no interest in communication or capturing humans. They had simply attacked and destroyed. Maybe they want to know how we disabled their fleet, Rex suggested. Jinha considered their options, which were few. They could refuse to allow the docking, but with only minutes of air left, they would die. Anyway. Or they could see what the Vraxians wanted. Let them dock, Jinha decided. We have nothing to lose. The docking tube connected to the Nightborne's airlock with a metallic clang. The ship's computer announced, "Foreign vessel connected. Airlock seal confirmed." Jinha turned to his officers. "I'll go alone to meet them." "No, sir," Quan said firmly. "We go together." Jinha looked at his loyal crew and nodded. Together, then. The four humans moved slowly to the airlock, each step requiring effort in the oxygen-poor environment. Jinha opened a small locker near the airlock and removed 4 hand weapons. "Just in case," he said, passing them out. They reached the airlock as it began to cycle open. Jinha raised his weapon, ready for whatever came through. The inner door slid open, and fresh air rushed into the ship. The humans took deep breaths, feeling strength return to their bodies. Then a figure stepped through the airlock. It wasn't what any of them expected. Instead of the insect-like Vraxians they had glimpsed in previous battles, this being looked almost human. It stood upright on 2 legs, with 2 arms and a head. But its skin was a pale blue, and its eyes were large. And completely black. "Greetings," the being said in perfect English. "I am Sentinel. I represent the Guardians." Jinha kept his weapon raised. "What are the Guardians? Are you Vraxian?" The being made a gesture that might have been a negative. "No, the Guardians are the original creators of the technology you call Vraxian. We have been monitoring your conflict." Jinha exchanged glances with his officers. "This was unexpected. You speak our language," he said. "I have been studying your transmissions," Sentinel replied. "Your species is ... interesting. Unlike the Vraxians, you think as individuals. You make choices based on personal judgment rather than collective wisdom." "And that's why the Vraxians attacked us?" Jinha asked. "Because we're different?" Sentinel nodded. "The Vraxians fear what they cannot understand. They found our technology thousands of years ago and adapted it to their biology, but they never truly understood it. They believed all advanced species must think as one mind to achieve harmony." Harin stepped forward. "But you're not part of their hive mind?" "No, the Guardians are individuals like you. We created the technology. The Vraxians used, but we designed it for communication, not control. The Vraxians perverted its purpose." Jinha lowered his weapon slightly. "Why are you here now?" "Your device, what you call the Phoenix, it did more than disrupt the Vraxian hive mind. It reset our monitoring systems. For centuries we believed the Vraxians were using our technology responsibly. We did not know they were conquering and destroying other species." Rex looked confused. "You didn't notice entire civilizations being wiped out?" Sentinel's expression changed slightly. "The Guardians have been ... absent, exploring distant galaxies. We left monitoring systems in place, but the Vraxians found ways to hide their actions from us." Jinha was still suspicious. "So now what? You've come to help us?" "Yes," Sentinel said simply. "Your species has shown remarkable resilience and ingenuity. The way you defeated the Vraxian fleet with minimal resources is impressive. The Guardians believe humans have potential." "Potential for what?" Quan asked. "To join us, to help maintain balance in this sector of the galaxy." Sentinel gestured toward the airlock. "But first we must deal with the Vraxians. Will you come with me to my ship? Your vessel cannot sustain life much longer." Jinha hesitated. This could be a trick. But they were out of options, and something about Sentinel seemed trustworthy. "We'll come," Jinha decided, "but we keep our weapons." Sentinel nodded. "Of course." The humans followed Sentinel through the airlock and into the docking tube. As they walked, Jinha asked, "What will happen to the Vraxians now?" "They must be helped," Sentinel replied. "For generations they have known only the hive mind. Now They must learn to exist as individuals. It will be difficult but necessary. They reached the end of the docking tube and entered the Guardian ship. The interior was nothing like the Vraxian vessels they had seen. It was bright with curved walls that seemed to glow from within. The air was fresh and slightly sweet-smelling. Sentinel led them to a large room with a circular table in the center. Above the table floated a holographic display of the entire Arcturus system, showing the scattered Vraxian fleet and Arcturus station in the distance. Your device affected 342 Vraxian ships, Sentinel said, pointing to the display. But 57 ships were outside its range. They have retreated, but will likely return with reinforcements once they report what happened. Jinha studied the display. So the war isn't over. No, Sentinel agreed, but now the Guardians will help you. We have much to atone for, having allowed the Vraxians to misuse our technology for so long. Harin looked at the alien curiously. Why do you care what happens to humans? We're just one species in a big galaxy. Sentinel turned to her. Because you remind us of ourselves, long ago. Before we became the Guardians, we were much like you, curious, adaptable, sometimes violent, but always striving to be better. We see in humans the same potential we once had. Jinha was still processing all this information when a signal chimed. Sentinel touched a panel on the wall, and a voice spoke in a language none of the humans understood. What is it? John asked. The Vraxian reinforcements have arrived sooner than expected, Sentinel replied. A fleet of over 500 ships has just entered the system. The holographic display updated, showing the new Threata massive fleet of Vraxian warships moving toward Arcturus station. Can your ship fight them? Quan asked. My vessel is not designed for combat, Sentinel explained. It is a diplomatic ship. But I have called for Guardian defense forces. They will arrive in approximately 1 hour, Jinha shook his head. The station won't last an hour against that fleet. Sentinel looked at the humans thoughtfully. Perhaps there is another way. The Phoenix device, could it be modified to work again? Rex considered this, maybe with the right parts. But our ship is dead. We'd need a new power source. My ship can provide power, Sentinel offered. If you can modify the device, we could use it against the new fleet. Jinha looked at his engineer. Rex? Rex nodded slowly. With Guardian technology, I might be able to make it even more effective, but I'll need help. You shall have it. Sentinel assured him. As Rex and several Guardian technicians began working on the Phoenix device, Jinha watched the approaching Vraxian fleet on the holographic display. They had won one battle. But the war was far from over, yet for the first time since the Vraxians had appeared, Jinha felt real hope. Humans were no longer fighting alone. They had found allies who appreciated their unique qualities rather than fearing them, and in the silence of space, a new alliance was forming, one that would change the galaxy forever. Engineer Rex worked frantically alongside the Guardian technicians. His hands moved quickly over the Phoenix device, connecting new power cells and adjusting circuits. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he raced against time. How much longer? Captain Jinha asked, watching the holographic display where the Vraxian reinforcement fleet moved steadily toward Arcturus station. 10 more minutes, Rex replied without looking up. These Guardian power cells are amazing. They'll make the Phoenix pulse 3 times stronger than before. Jinha nodded and turned to Sentinel. Will your people really help us after this? Or will you disappear again once the immediate threat is gone? Sentinel's black eyes seemed to study Jinha carefully. The Guardians have made mistakes. We left this sector of space for too long. We allowed the Vraxians to misuse our technology. We will not abandon you again. Harin joined them at the holographic display. The Vraxian fleet will reach the station in 20 minutes. Even with the station's defenses, they won't last long against 500 ships. Jinha studied the tactical situation. The modified Phoenix device would disrupt the Vraxian hive mind just like before, but they needed to get close enough to the enemy fleet for it to work. Sentinel, can your ship get us near the center of their formation? Jinha asked. Yes, but my ship has limited defenses, Sentinel replied. We would be destroyed before we could activate the device. Commander Quan, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. What about the Nightborne? Everyone turned to look at him. Our ship is damaged but not completely dead, Quan continued. If we could tow it into position and load the Phoenix device on board, we could set it to activate automatically. We wouldn't need to be on the ship, Jinha considered this plan. The Nightborne's stealth systems might still work enough to get close to their fleet before they detect it. Rex looked up from his work. We could rig the quantum drive for one final jump. Program it to appear in the middle of their fleet and immediately activate the Phoenix device. A suicide mission for the ship, but not for us, Jinha said, nodding. Slowly, it could work. Sentinel touched a control panel, and the holographic display zoomed in on the UES Nightborne, still connected to the Guardian ship by the docking tube. My sensors show your quantum drive is damaged but functional. Sentinel. Confirmed. We can provide enough power to make one jump. Jinha made his decision. Let's do it. Rex, how soon can the Phoenix device be ready to transfer to the Nightborne? 5 more minutes, Rex replied, returning to his work with renewed energy. Jinha turned to Quan and Harin. We need to prepare the Nightborne. Get the quantum drive ready for remote activation. The next 15 minutes were a blur of activity. Rex finished modifying the Phoenix device with Guardian technology. Quan and Harin returned to the Nightborne to prepare the quantum drive. Jinha coordinated with Arcturus Station, warning them about the plan. Finally, everything was ready. The Phoenix device had been installed in the Nightborne's core. The quantum drive was programmed to jump the ship into the center of the Vraxian fleet. All systems were set for remote activation from the Guardian ship. Jin-Ha, Quan, Harin, and Rex stood with Sentinel in the Guardian ship's control room, watching as the docking tube disconnected from the Nightborne. Tractor beam engaged, a Guardian technician announced. We can position the human vessel wherever needed. Jinha looked at the tactical display. The Vraxian fleet was now just 10 minutes from Arcturus Station. They had to act quickly. Move. U.S. into position, Jinha ordered. We need to be close enough to the Vraxian fleet for the quantum jump, but far enough that we won't be caught in any crossfire. The Guardian ship moved smoothly, towing the damaged Nightborne behind it. They approached the Vraxian fleet from above, staying out of the direct path between the aliens and the station. We're in position, Sentinel announced. The Nightborne is ready for its final mission. Jinha looked at the ship on the display, the vessel that had carried them through so many battles. It seemed wrong to send it into destruction without being on board, like abandoning a faithful friend. Captain, Harin said softly, noticing his expression, the Nightborne will save Earth one last time. It's a good end for a good ship. Jinha nodded. You're right. He straightened his shoulders and turned to Rex. Begin the sequence. Rex activated a control panel. Nightborne systems coming online, quantum drive charging, stealth systems activated. On the display, they watched as the Nightborne's engines glowed faintly. The damaged ship seemed to shimmer slightly as its stealth systems engaged. Quantum drive at full charge, Rex reported. Phoenix device ready. Awaiting your command, Captain. Jinha took a deep breath, released tractor beam. The Guardian ship released the Nightborne, which now floated freely in space. Activate quantum jump, Jinha ordered. Rex pressed a final control. Jump sequence initiated. On the display, they watched as the Nightborne disappeared in a flash of light. A moment later, it reappeared in the heart of the Vraxian fleet. Phoenix. Device activating in 3.2. Rex counted down. A pulse of energy burst from the Nightborne, expanding outward in all directions. It passed through the Vraxian ships like a wave, invisible but powerful. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, just as before, the perfect formation of the Vraxian fleet began to break apart. Ships drifted out of position. Some fired weapons. Randomly, others simply stopped moving. It worked. Harin exclaimed. The Phoenix pulse disrupted their hive mind. The Nightborne, its final mission complete, exploded in a bright flash as its overtaxed systems failed catastrophically. Jinha watched silently as his ship died. taking dozens of nearby Vraxian vessels with it. The sacrifice was worth it. The entire enemy fleet was now in chaos, no longer a threat to Arcturus Station or Earth. "Captain," Quan said, pointing to another part of the display, "look!" New ships were appearing at the edge of the system's sleek vessels, with designs similar to Sentinel's ship but clearly built for combat. "The Guardian Defense Force has arrived," Sentinel explained. "They will secure the disabled Vraxian ships and prevent any from escaping." Jinha turned to the alien. "And then what? What happens to the Vraxians?" Sentinel's expression was solemn. "They must learn to live as individuals, not as a hive. It will be difficult for them. Many will not survive the transition. But those who do will have a chance to become something new, something better." "Like rehabilitation instead of punishment?" Harin observed. "Yes," Sentinel agreed. "The Vraxians are victims of their own technology in many ways. They forgot how to be individuals. Long ago." Jinha watched as the Guardian ships moved among the drifting Vraxian vessels, capturing them one by one. "And what about humans?" he asked. "What happens to us now?" Sentinel turned to face Jinha directly. "That is for you to decide. The Guardians offer alliance, not control. We believe humans have earned their place among spacefaring civilizations. Your actions today choosing to disable rather than destroy your enemy, even after all they did to your colonies, shows wisdom beyond your years as a species." Jinha thought about this. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. They had fought against impossible odds and won. And they had done it not by becoming like their enemy, but by remaining true to the best parts of human nature: creativity, determination, and the ability to work together while still thinking as individuals. "We accept your alliance," Jinha said finally. "Earth will want to know everything about Guardian technology, of course." Sentinel made a gesture that might have been a smile. "And we wish to learn about human culture, art, music, all the things that make your species unique. This is the beginning of a new era for both our peoples." As the Guardian ship turned toward Arcturus Station, Jinha looked back at the disabled Vraxian fleet one last time. The war was over. Humanity had survived. And they had gained not just victory but understanding. In the silence of space, a new chapter in human history had begun, one that would take them further into the stars than they had ever dreamed possible. And the UES Nightborne, though gone, would be remembered as the ship that changed the course of the galaxy forever.